Hello and welcome to this new ORF video. My name is Kriti Shah. Earlier this year, the United States signed a deal with the Taliban, 19 years after they first entered the country. The agreement, called the Agreement for Bringing Peace to Afghanistan, is not a peace deal, but a withdrawal agreement, under which the Taliban agree not to attack US forces and to sever ties with Al-Qaeda and other groups that threaten the US. This is while the US promised to begin a steady withdrawal of their troops from the country. It has now been nearly 5 months since the deal was signed, and violence across the country continues, with the Taliban not attacking US forces, but Afghan security forces and citizens. And this is while the Afghan government prepares to sit down with the Taliban for the first time and begin negotiations that could potentially and hopefully bring an end to the war. Joining me to discuss these developments today is Fawzia Kufi, a member of the Afghan parliament and part of the Afghan government team who will be negotiating with the Taliban. Thank you, ma'am, for speaking with ORF. Just to get started, what has been sort of the mood in the country since the signing of the withdrawal agreement between the US and the Taliban? Are people optimistic about the changes that could happen once the US leave, or are they fearful?
There was an expectation that after the agreement is signed between the US and the Taliban, people will see a reduction in violence and eventually ceasefire that will pave the way for a lasting peace between the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan and the Taliban. However, that has not been the practice. We have seen an increment in the number of people who are killed in the battlefield as well as the civilians. But the mood in this country is that let's give the peace a chance, because we all believe that there is no way out of this violence but to peace. So we are hoping that that both sides, the Taliban in particular, will don't miss this opportunity for peace and will come to negotiation table. Because every day people are killed in Afghanistan, and we witness the bloodshed.
Mm-hmm. Now that the government has appointed a negotiating team and you're preparing to sit down with the Taliban, what are the three most, if you can bring it down to sort of three topmost things that you are hoping to achieve in the talks with the Taliban, and what are your top three biggest concerns going in?
Well, I think it will be kind of difficult to summarize all the desires we have for the future of this country into three top priorities. However, I think everybody wants to see a country that, as the government leadership says, a country that is in peace within, in peace with neighbors, independent, sovereign, state, but united. So we are hoping that we will be able to achieve this kind of narrative that we have portrayed: a country that is independent, that is united, that equal rights for everyone, including women in particular, are respected, that is in peace with the region, in peace with our neighbors, in peace with itself. So that's what we want to achieve. And the biggest fear as a woman probably would be the time that we not only move forward, but we lose all the gains, or at least reverse some of the gains we have on women's rights.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good that you bring that up, because we often hear about the talks, the importance of the talks being Afghan owned and Afghan led. And a very crucial part of that is the role that women have to play. So could you elaborate on some of the major freedoms that have been restored to Afghan women post-2001? And what are some of the expectations of the women across the country now from the Taliban?
I think it is not practical, or it will not be fair if we kind of bring a segregation between what women of Afghanistan want and what the general public want, because there is no difference between the transformed society in Afghanistan. The transformed society includes man and woman. They all want to see a country which, as I said before, which lives with the values of 21st century, with the values that we have achieved so far, with the values that women of Afghanistan have the freedom to go to school, have the freedom to exercise their political rights, have the freedom to be respected as an equal rights holder in the society. And I think that's the Afghanistan that we are striving for, where everyone is respected for their ability, for their talent, not for their gender or ethnic affiliation or political affiliation. And I think women of Afghanistan are part of all of this. And my expectation is that we look at the women issue in Afghanistan as an integrated approach to all the gains we have had, because it cannot be a standalone issue. Democracy, basically, in this country depend on how the future of women will look like.
As a member of the negotiating team, how does the team plan to balance all the different viewpoints or ideologies from across the country, sort of the liberal ideas from more urban cities or the more conservative ideologies from other areas? How do you all come together and be on the same page when you're sitting across the table from the Taliban?
You know that the negotiation team on behalf of Islamic Republic of Afghanistan is a very diverse negotiation team. And that represents basically the new Afghanistan, I would say. An Afghanistan where it's pluralistic, an Afghanistan where men, women, younger generation, everyone is represented. Now, the team could have been better in terms of women representation, but I think now that the team is formed, our priority would be to mobilize everyone around common values, around the values that we would like to pursue on behalf of the people of Afghanistan. I think to the large extent, I can claim that the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan negotiation team have kind of common understanding of the issue and united position. That being said, of course, we are representing a democracy where people will have different views, and different views will have to be respected, but different views and diversity in opinion should not undermine the values that we have. And that is something that we have an agreement upon in the negotiation team.
Mm-hmm. You've been involved in several rounds of talks over the last year. What sort of role do you see the regional countries playing, the Central Asian countries or the West Asian countries such as Iran or others in South Asia? What sort of importance should the regional countries be giving to Afghanistan right now?
We have to, first of all, define what kind of Afghanistan does the region desire to see. Mm-hmm. And Afghanistan, as I said before, that is a hub for economical opportunity, a hub for connectivity, a hub for tourists because of its beauties, could not only benefit the people of Afghanistan, but also the region too. So I think the regional countries, immediate and far neighbors of Afghanistan, should see where they find a stronger partnership in terms of the mutual benefits, the mutual economical benefits, political benefits, as well as, you know, also trade and human-to-human exchange benefit. And Afghanistan, which is peaceful, will definitely be an opportunity for our neighboring countries. So therefore, our expectation is that that regardless of you know, kind of domestic views different countries might have, or their in-depth strategic differences that they have with Afghanistan, or probably they bring in Afghanistan with you know, their own kind of traditional difference or traditional political differences that they have with the region, they have to be genuinely supportive of this peace process, because for the sake of their own goodwill, the peace process will also help them. It's not about just peace in Afghanistan. It's about bringing in a new kind of image, a new dimension, a new positive energy into the region. Afghanistan connects Central Asia to South Asia. Can you imagine right now all the difficulties we face? How will that be overcome if the distance is shortened? And if the tourists could travel to the countries of each other without the fear of being kind of attacked or targeted security challenge, how will that feel? Afghanistan is a country full of opportunities. Peace will give our neighbors and the regional countries the freedom to use these opportunities. We can create a partnership, not just a country that depends on aid, but a country that works as a partner, a reliable partner to the world.
Mm-hmm. How do you see India's role in all of this? Because India has sort of been one of the countries which has supported Afghanistan the most, and yet has been left out of negotiations and left out of the peace talks. What are some steps that India can now play which help strengthen Afghan democracy or help play a supporting role in the peace talks with the Taliban?
You know, people of Afghanistan and India has a long traditional history that will not be shaped or reshaped based on the political influences. So it's a people-to-people bond, and it rooted deeply in the history, starting from our times of business and you know, Kabuliwala, and improved over time. If you look at the business we have and the number of people that traveled to India or vice versa to Afghanistan before COVID-19 pandemic was enormous. So it's a people-to-people contact. However, I think India has to really get more involved in terms of playing an important or more probably relevant role in peace process, because as I said, countries in the region might have political differences, they might have strategic differences, they might have sometimes even disputes over historical issues. But a peaceful Afghanistan will be in the interest of not only our immediate neighbors, but our foreign neighbors. So I think India should play a little bit more active role in terms of, you know, getting involved in this process, trying to support Afghanistan, because you have already been engaged. I mean, yearly base, thousands of students go to India and gain the knowledge for education, come back to Afghanistan. This is a potential kind of asset that India could use for their, you know, kind of mutual relationship. So I think India should really get more relevant and more involved in this, because without a country like India and our neighbors, the peace process will not succeed. So therefore, we are hoping that India will really get more kind of seat for itself in this process.
I think you bring up some very valid points, but thank you so much for talking to ORF and for the remarkable work that you're doing in Afghanistan for your people and for particularly for women. And I wish you all the best for the upcoming negotiations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.